Okay, it is 10 a.m. and I know we have some good information to get through, so we'll get started. And people will trickle in. So, good morning, everyone. Today's Open Research Office is going to cover a new online plain language framework for researchers by the CTSI Community Engagement Coordinator, Grace McKenzie. And Grace, you can start whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. I just
Sorry,
wanted
Grace.
to
One
preface
second.
that.
If anyone has any questions, if you guys could just hold them until the end, because Grace has a lot of important information to share with us, and we want to make sure that she can get through all of it. If you have a question during the session, you can put it in the chat and I'll relay it. But if you really want us to just be able to focus on your question, if you could just hold it till the end, that'd be appreciated. Go ahead, Grace.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Marshall. I just wanted to start out by saying I have a head cold, so I apologize if I sound nasally or have tissues at the ready. So please excuse the health condition here. But yes, so the name of the session today is the new online plain language framework for researchers. And that framework is called the Community Perspectives on Communicating in Plain Language Primer. So we're launching this toolkit for researchers, and it will be on our website and some other areas as well, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So I am part of the Community Engagement Core for UB's Clinical and Translational Science Institute. And a primer is an introduction to a subject. So we were really considerate about what to name this new resource. And it's not as comprehensive as a guide. It really is meant to be a primer, an introduction to plain language, and some different aspects of plain language because it is so nuanced and it has so many levels that this is an introduction to that. So our plain language team consists of myself and my director, Dr. Tumil Berhalter, and then our two long-term interns, Rafael Ortiz and Anitha Joseph. Both Rafael and Anitha started out as interns for just one semester, and they were so engaged in the project that they stayed on for the whole 2 years of the project. So we are very, very appreciative and grateful for them staying on for the duration of the project. So the community engagement core has overarching goals. So our goals are to make research accessible to all people, to understand and respond to cultural and community level nuances uh, that limit accessibility to research, to increase participation in research studies, to increase community partners on research teams and promote community-based participatory research, to improve science and health literacy in the community, and to build trust in our community between researchers and the community. So just a little explanation of what plain language is. The average American reads on the 7th to 8th grade reading level. In terms of research in academia, the language that is used involves scientific terms and terminology that is not easily understood by the general public. So communicating in plain language is necessary to bridge the gap between the general public and the academic world. Plain language can be defined as communication that people can easily understand. Plain language does not use slang or abbreviations or technical terms unless those technical terms and abbreviations are explained. And we will get into that in much more detail. Plain language provides a summary that can effectively be translated from the research language into a format that is more readable to the average person. So this is a quote that's directly from the primer, and this kind of summarizes our idea of plain language. So it is the ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. So really boiling it down to what is necessary for someone to understand to participate in your research. So focusing in on that necessary um, items so that you eliminate all that other things that do not really promote what is necessary. And just for general information, Hans Hofmann is a German artist. And he was an artist and professor and wrote many books on art. And so this was his comment on making art more accessible. So why should we study plain language? There are many advantages to using plain language in science. What plain language does is improve the reader response, improve scientific literacy, and allows the reader to independently make well-informed decisions to provide science-based information. So really, plain language influences the communication between researcher and participant. In this plain language in research project, we believe that plain language promotes community engagement, builds trust between the community and the researcher, and sustains community collaborations and partnerships. So throughout the primer, there are quotes, and they are in boxes such as this or in quote bubbles. And so we like to call out specific nuances to grab your attention and really to be thoughtful bits of information to carry forward. So this one I thought was appropriate. So when we support one another, we're able to raise awareness about our community as well as lean on one another to help goals to be fulfilled and to succeed. So that's really our goal, is to help researchers succeed in their research projects, and help communities feel really good about participating in research. So the plain language project was divided into like two phases. So we have the research project, and then we have the primer that came out of the research project. So right now I just want to focus on the plain language research project itself. So we had a total of 4 student interns over the course of 2 years that worked on the project. And they did mostly the data collection, interviews, focus groups, and the transcript generation and the transcript cleaning. And then they participated in the rapid data analysis as well. So the goals of our plain language research project was to learn about communication barriers to research participation, preferred language for research, and what people want to learn about research studies. So then the second goal was to develop a plain language primer. And this was based on the 50 interviews and focus groups that we did. And really, the primer is an iterative process that went through many reviews through many different collaborators. And we'll get more in detail with that as we talk about the primer. And then also our goal was to develop tools such as templates and checklists. And this was geared for the researcher in mind in order to help them not only with recruitment flyers, really anything that's community facing in your research project. Our plain language study the 50 participants that we did recruit came from community contacts. So we have a database of about 225 community partners that we're in contact with all the time for all sorts of things that we do in community engagement for the CTSI. So we put out a general ask, like our recruitment flyer, we put out in an email blast to all of our contacts. And so the first people to be interviewed were the ones that volunteered from that initial email blast, who contacted us because of their interest. So after that initial invitation, that got about half of the 50, so about 25 people were just volunteers from that initial email blast. After we did those interviews, what we did is we looked at who contacted us and what communities they serve and are from. And then we went back through our contacts list and we picked out individuals that kind of filled the gaps. And then we emailed those individuals separately, asking them to participate. And we did that really intentionally so that we could represent the diversity of Western New York as closely as possible. So the study participants were 50 individuals that were either interviewed one-on-one or participating in a focus group. And as I said, it was a purposeful sample. And the demographics that we were looking for included race, ethnicity, gender, disability, urban, suburban, and rural representation, and their familiarity with research. So the interview was semi-structured. We talked in the interview, we started out talking about personal communication. What does community mean to you? How do you communicate in your community? Things of that nature, just to be like an icebreaker of talking about the topic. Then we moved into general communication questions, such as what good communication meant to them, and really describe an ad that got their attention and what was that best way to get their attention and what words really resonated with them to get their attention. Then the second half of the interview was based on research communication. So they looked at a research flyer, and this is a flyer that actually the Community Engagement Corps helped develop with this study. So it is something that we helped generate. And we had the participant review the flyer, tell us what they liked about it, tell us what needed improvement. And then pull away from the flyer and talk more about barriers and challenges in communicating research, important words to use to communicate research, and how to really be more engaged in research. Then what we did was rapid qualitative analysis, where we cleaned the transcripts and organized field notes together. We got together once a week and analyzed. What we did was each one of us on our team analyzed each interview, and we came up with a summary sheet that summarized really the themes, domains, important details of the interview and important quotes from the interview. And then we got together once a week and we really did a deep dive into each person's summary to come up with a master summary of all these salient details of each interview. From those master summary sheets, we took all the master summary sheets and put them into a matrix and really started to flush out what people were saying over and over again that might be generalizable and what was more of a specific nuance for a specific community. And then we heavily relied on this matrix for quotes for the primer, for all of the themes and domains of the primer, and really the matrix was the initial outline, if you will, for the primer. So we came up with these domains that were overarching through the interviews and focus groups. So the definition of community, communication within the community, what good communication is, the best way to get attention, words that get attention, challenges in communicating research, what makes people interested in research, importance of words in research communication, methods of engagement, recruitment flyer likes and improvements, and then additional tips like, to summarize the end of the interview or focus group, what are those takeaways that you're walking away with that's an essential tip that they wanted to give forward to researchers? So themes and these are all different sections in the primer or mentioned in sections in the primer. Building trust and relationships, respect, being clear and concise, understanding verbal and nonverbal communication, really putting forth what is your purpose, the need to believe in a cause, like to show your cause and help people understand or believe in that cause. Choosing words and terms very carefully. The words are very important to convey your message. Making visuals relate well to the words in the text. So it's not just words, but it's the context of your text or the context of your words that are important. And this is not only in a recruitment flyer where you have visuals and formatting, but it's also if you're participating with someone one-on-one in person over Zoom. I mean, you have to keep in mind the whole context. First impressions and grabbing attention and keeping focus. So going back to our study participants, they varied as best we could to get a diverse representation of their race. So 55% were white, 25% African American, 12% Asian, 2% Middle Eastern. So the areas that they serve, one participant served Cattaraugus and Chautauqua counties. Two people served Chautauqua County. 40 people served Buffalo and Erie County. 3 people served Niagara County, and 4 participants served all of Western New York. So you can see that one of our limitations is the small numbers that we have here. So sometimes a voice is just 1 or 2 people. Sometimes sometimes a theme is many more than that. So really, what was mostly limiting was having such small number of participants. 80% of our participants were female and 20 were male. Participants were social workers, community health workers, community engagement specialists at different not-for-profits, and community-based organization leaders. Many of these careers are dominated by women, and that's pretty much why we have more women represented over men. And we did focus on workers in the community because for a couple reasons. First was that we didn't have any funding for this project, so they were already getting paid by their, place of work to participate in this. So it was voluntary, and it was kind of, people either did the interview on work time or after work hours. So since we could not compensate, we chose to focus on workers who were in the community and had their own compensation through their work. Um, and then we also focused on our community collaborators. So most of our collaborators are have these types of roles in the community. In terms of their familiarity with research, 34% of the participants said that they were familiar or very familiar with research. But 66% of our participants were either not familiar or somewhat familiar with research. And there were even a few that had not participated in research at all, and this was their first experience with research. The majority of people in the study did not have familiarity with research. So some of our results were the concept of community is intricate and is comprised of layering of different interest groups. So one person can participate in many different communities. People contribute and feel valued to the community, sharing of goals and vision for the future. And people can trust and be trusted and feel connected and supported in their communities. Barriers to research engagement included terminology usage and tone of materials that sometimes people felt dumb or not respected. Research labs may not be accessible, transportation issues, that type of thing. Topics did not connect with people. And topics do not promote participation as contributing to a positive change. Overwhelmingly, people said that they want to contribute to a positive cause. So they want to feel like they're contributing to a positive change. And then also, plain language is important for communicating research. Flyer design tips, including using more visuals and making sure that visuals are linked to the text. Words are very, very important, so be very careful in selecting simple words. Use a variety of text size to attract attention. And then use headlines as questions to get attention. And then the ease of access to more details. So make it very easy to get into contact with you, very easy to learn more. So put links into your web page or make sure you have your phone number and email address so that people can really reach out to you easily. Okay, so now since we know about the research project ends of things, now let's look at the primer. So the primer had many different collaborators that were contacted and participated over and over again during 18 months of collaboration and development. So the study participants, 30 out of the 50 agreed to review the primer in development. So those were contacted over and over again to really tweak the language and tweak the tips and ideas. Patient Voices Network is a network of people who are advocates for healthcare. We are very close with Patient Voices Network. Their steering committee reviewed the primer several times, and one individual Patient Voices Network member reviewed the primer individually several times. Our CTSI Community Advisory Board reviewed the primer, and UB's Institutional Review Board, a member of the IRB, reviewed the primer several times. In terms of the Clinical and Translational Science Institute, we had our Special Populations Core involved with reviewing the primer, our Communications Department, and CTSI leadership. So each chapter has tips on connecting with specific communities within Western New York. Some tips include ways to get attention, words that get attention, graphic design tips, and community engagement tips. So once again, we have some tips that are called out in boxes and in quotes, and some tips that are listed in the text. So the primer is 53 pages long, so it is a long document. And there are several different ways that you could use it. On our website, we're going to have it in its entirety. So you can download the PDF of all 53 pages and read it whole, start to finish, if you want to, if you're so engaged, and that would be awesome. But we will have each chapter as its own separate standalone PDF. So if you're only interested in communication tips, you can grab chapter 3 and just look at that nugget of information. So all of those will be available individually. The toolkit will also be available on its own as well. So if you just are working on your study recruitment flyer and you just want to pull out the plain language checklist or the plain language sample recruitment flyer, you can just grab those individual tools and look at those separate from the whole document. And please note that there will be support all along the way. You can reach us in the Community Engagement Core and the Special Populations Core. We are happy to have a consult with you and support you in helping design your study materials that are community facing. So we offer plain language consults. We offer community engagement consults. We offer community engagement studios where this primer will be available in a planning session for a studio. And then we also offer science cafes where we can talk about and use the primer in a science cafe planning as well. So there's lots of supports through CTSI. So the first chapter, the introduction to plain language, starts out with vignettes of three people who are from either Buffalo, a suburb, or a rural community. And it's really showcasing them and their story, and how they participated and why. Chapter 1 talks about understanding plain language, like we talked about earlier, and our approach to plain language. Chapter 2 is community perspective. So it's all about defining what the community is, and communication in the community. So again, this is the background information of communities in Western New York and really how to communicate in various communities. Chapter 3 is all about communication tips. So this is what participants thought good communication was, ways to get attention, and words that get attention and words to stay away from. And this would be in print materials, online materials, or one-on-one engagement. Chapter 4 is communicating in plain language in research. So this is the deeper dive into research communication. So talks about challenges in communicating research, what makes people interested in research, importance of words in communicating research, and different methods to engage people in research. And then chapter 5 is plain language resources. So it's going back to the flyer critique, where it lists the positives and the improvements. It also has the appendices with the toolkit and additional resources. And just to let you know that it's really important to note that the primer and its toolkit does not replace anything that's already recommended by UB Communications or UB IRB Library. This is meant to supplement the resources that are already out there. It's not a replacement for anything. So, and again, this is suggestions and giving extra options. So please don't look at this as replacing anything. It's supposed to support what's already there. So in the toolkit is a plain language checklist. And this is really for anything community facing. This could be for Facebook posts or social media posts. This could be for billboards. This could be for recruitment flyer if you want to design your own and not use a template. So this is a checklist so that you can kind of do the background processes of planning your materials. And then we have an example recruitment flyer template. This was designed by participants in the research project. So it's a two-pager, either front and back or side to side or two posts, however you want to look at it. But it's designed to give people a bite, a snack, and then a meal. So a bite on the front is just initial information, asking a question, why is your research study important? So it's highly visual with pictures, with just a little information, and most importantly, your contact information, and eligibility requirements. The second page is really to go into detail about your research study. So give them a snack, give them more details, give them one or two important points. Have a glossary. So if you need to use your technical terms, it's okay as long as you define them in plain language. And then give the community a delicious meal. They want to learn. They want to know exactly what you're about. So put in a full paragraph detailing your study with a link to your study webpage to get more information. So here is an example of the flyer template in use where, the front is just initial information, and the back is your glossary with some bullet point information to catch the eye. And then the delicious meal is the paragraphs from the Participate in Research portal with a link to the portal page for more detailed information. And also the last 3 pages of the guide are additional resources. So these are national resources, which are websites, articles for further your deeper dive into plain language. And we always recommend the principle of community engagement. This is the 3rd edition that just came out this year. And it's a really comprehensive guide to community engagement. And it touches on plain language as well. So how to access the primer. The primer will be on our CTSI website and the IRB library. And it will be available through the Community Engagement Core and Special Populations Core in individual contact. So we can email it to you and have a consult and send it to you after the consult as well. So the primer is not launched yet. We are looking to have it in its final stages that's ready for publication within the next few weeks. So it's not on the website or the library yet, but it will be there as soon as possible within the next few weeks. So our future plans are to have the primer launched, as I said, on our website and in the library. And our plain language consults and support are always there for you. We would love to share this with throughout all of UB for all of UB researchers, no matter what school you're from or what department you're from. We would like to share it with the Western New York community, especially the participants in our research study, and throughout the clinical and translational science consortium. And with that, we're going to open it up for questions now, but just to let you know, thank you so much for coming and participating in this presentation. This was one thing from the study that really hit me, that the community thanks you for even being here and being willing to talk with them. It's very, very meaningful for the community to be actually, considered more of a partner rather than just a place to get participants to recruit. So thank you for asking my opinion. It makes me feel like you care about the community's opinions. So thank you. And I will stop sharing so that we can talk now. All right.
Well, thank you, Grace. Does anyone have any questions right now in the chat? Someone said thank you. And then we have Carrie Dykes from the Rochester CTSI. She said this is really great work and they're going to disseminate it to their researchers.
Awesome. Well, it took a lot of people to have this primer be a useful tool. So, we've come a long way in this 2-year project, and it's really great to see it come to fruition.
Hi, it's Carrie Dykes again from Rochester. I actually do have another question.
Sure.
How do you convey, one of the things you mentioned is that people want to get involved in a cause, right? They want to get involved in something that makes a difference. How do you convey that in your research communications without over-promising what the research will do, right? Because that's often something IRBs are concerned about, that your research is research and you don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. So you don't want to come across as being coercive, for sure. But you do want to highlight what you do. So, for example, cancer research, like Roswell Park is our partner. And so if you're doing any type of cancer research, you don't have to say we're curing cancer. You could just say, you will help us develop something that will promote cancer prevention or cancer research or the next step towards wellness in our community. They don't need to know that you're providing like all this overarching themes. They just want to know that you're doing your part, and they want to feel like they're doing their part.
Does anyone else have a question for Grace? All right. Well, if there are not any questions, Grace, thank you again for presenting on the primer. And the session that was recorded, it will be posted on our YouTube channel in the next upcoming weeks or so, should anyone want to review the information or send it to anyone else that might be interested. And with that, thank you for attending today's session.
Thank you so much.